forward to a good conversation.
Asante, let's get right to it. And of course, we'll start with the very recent developments. You were recently in Meru. As a matter of fact, just yesterday, you launched fresh accusations against President William Ruto, alleging that he's orchestrating a plan to remove Chief Justice Martha Koome from office. Can you substantiate these claims? The claims that the purge in the Supreme Court, in the judiciary, is politically motivated?
Yes, it is. I was Deputy President and Principal Assistant to President William Ruto, and I'm privy to many things. I also have a responsibility as a leader in this country to let the people of Kenya know what is happening. President William Ruto schemed a long time ago to remove Justice Martha Koome as Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court because of refusing to be compromised.
And he shared this with you?
He shared with me, and many times he even quoted me that a daughter from the mountain is being problematic and accused me of being unable to manage Martha Koome to do things the way the president wants. And I told him it's not possible. I had many discussions with Martha Koome, and she's a stricter to the rule of law and constitutionalism. She's a very respectable judge, very qualified, and she got that job through merit. And I was against it. And I think the matter was put on hold until I was hounded out of office. And the matter now has been put in top gear, not just to remove Martha Koome as a Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, but to remove the entire bench of the Supreme Court. And I must tell the people of Kenya that we must be very careful, because the president wants and pronounced himself before me many times that as president he needs to manage the electoral cycle from the IBC all the way to the Supreme Court. And many times he indicated his desire to have the entire bench replaced so that he can put in place a bench that will do what he wants. And that is very dangerous for the country, because if he puts a bench that he wants to manage the conflict, if any, after the elections, the people of Kenya will not accept it. And what is happening is very simple. The president has the numbers in the Judicial Service Commission. So any proceedings against Justice Martha Koome and the 7 judges and the other 6 judges will just be a kangaroo court. It will just be like what happened to me in the Senate and the National Assembly. It will be predetermined. The president will thereafter set up a tribunal himself, and he will determine the outcome. So what we are looking at, I'm not just defending Justice Martha Koome. It's the entire bench of the Supreme Court. These are judges of impeccable credentials. These are judges with proven track record. These are judges who have made monumental decisions in accordance with the rule of law and the Constitution for the benefit of the Republic. And if the president has his way, bulldozes through the Judicial Service Commission, where he has the numbers, these judges will not get any justice. It will be a kangaroo type of thing. And then they'll give a recommendation to the president to set up a tribunal to try them. And the outcome is predetermined. So I need to ask the international community to keep a very close eye on this country, because if the president succeeds in putting his bench at the Supreme Court, he will have completed the state capture. Already as we speak, he has captured Parliament, both Senate and the National Assembly. He has captured the opposition. The only remaining line of defense for the people of Kenya is the judiciary. So if he succeeds as he has planned, it means that the president has really captured the entire country, all the arms of government, and he'll do whatever he wants. And that level of impunity is dangerous for our democracy, our constitutionalism, and the rule of law. And we must speak out, and it should not be allowed to happen.
Okay, allow me to interject, because not too long ago, And some people may call you bluff for this. You were critical of the judiciary, which you so speak highly of currently, questioning its independence, whether there are overtures from the executive and whatnot. So why should Kenyans believe that this is
I've never had a blanket condemnation of the judiciary. I have spoken about individual cases, which is normal, and that is why when the Constitution allows appeals mechanism, so that if you are dissatisfied with a decision by the High Court, you can go to the Court of Appeal. If you are dissatisfied, you can go to the Supreme Court, because judges are human beings. They cannot be perfect 100%.
Okay.
But you cannot remove the entire bench of the Supreme Court. And you see what will happen is that the president will manage the appointment of the new judges through the JJC, because they are the ones who will interview and recommend for appointment. So what will happen is that if this is allowed to happen, one, is very dangerous for the country.
Okay.
You cannot have a vacuum where there is no Supreme Court, where an entire bench has been sent home as we process the tribunal mechanism. Again, the danger is there because he has pronounced himself, and I have told you, he did in my presence, that we must have a Supreme Court that we control. In fact, he told me, once you are president, it is very irresponsible for you to lose an election.
Okay.
You must control the election from IBC all the way to the Supreme Court. And the president is determined, and I know him.
And this was a private conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But I must tell the people of Kenya, because in fact, initially I thought it was a joke. I never imagined that any president anywhere in the world would ever want to disband an entire bench of the Supreme Court. I mean, it will cause, one, a vacuum that is unacceptable, a constitutional crisis that a country can stay without a Supreme Court for a certain time.
Okay.
And it's a very dangerous thing, and we must not allow it to happen.
Then tell me this, Bwana Ridiji, if I can call you that, and allow me to quote you verbatim, because while in Meru, you said this: "We are telling you, if you dare plan to chase Martha Koome, stay in Nairobi and do not step in Meru again." That's just a quote from your statements, and to some people this is a threat. This is incitement
No, it isn't.
of the many people against the head of state.
It is not a threat, it's not incitement. It's just a statement of fact. Many times I have offered free advice to the president. And when I was in office, I told him not to touch the mountain. I told him not to interfere with the mountain politics. I told him not to attempt to divide Mount Kenya East and West. He disregarded me, called me primitive, called me retrogressive, called me tribal, called me all manner of names. Today, it has come to pass, he has lost the mountain completely. He is traveling on the tails of Honorable Raila Odinga to sustain his government, to keep it in power. All I was doing when I was in Meru, I was not in any way threatening the president. I was just telling him a statement of fact. 90% of the people of Meru are through with him. The remaining 10%, if he goes ahead to remove Martha Koome as Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, he will lose the other 10%. So I was telling him, there is no need for you to come to Meru anymore, because people, they will not be hostile, they'll be cold and indifferent.
So what happens if other leaders actually tell you, Rigathi Gachagua, you can't step in our region?
I'm not saying I didn't, I just gave him advice. I said, I did not even say he shouldn't. I said, if you remove Martha Koome. You know, I'm not saying he has not removed her. I said, Mr. President, you are planning with your deputy, the Mr. Yesa, because they are working together. And Mr. Yesa has been given the responsibility to make sure Martha Koome is out of the job. And in fact, the meeting that was held, and I've come to get the content, is that the president argues that Mount Kenya East cannot have the presidency and head of judiciary at the same time. Because Mr. Yesa is in the presidency and Martha Koome is in the judiciary, the president has told Mr. Yesa, if Martha Koome is not removed so that we can take this seat to another region, you will have to go yourself. So you must make sure that Martha Koome is out. In fact, that is a responsibility has been given. All these things that are going on, the petitions, the JSC, it is Mr. Yesa who is coordinating to save his job, because the president is clear that you cannot have the presidency in Mount Kenya East and also have the president of the Supreme Court and the Chief Justice in the same area. And now I was saying, I am not threatening the president. I cannot threaten. I just told him the truth. I'm a truthful man. I was in Meru. Mr. President, you have hatched a scheme with your deputy to remove Martha Koome as Chief Justice. If you succeed, and he can succeed because he was able to remove a deputy president who is elected by 7.2 million Kenyans. So the one for Chief Justice is even much easier. Once you do that, your relationship with the people of Meru is irreparably damaged. And there is no need for you even to come to Meru because you get a very hostile reception. As we speak, the situation in that Mount Kenya East is already very bad for him. The other day he sent messages of condolence to a funeral in Embu. And the people said, we want to hear nothing about it. He has not been to Meru. Meru is worse than Embu for him. If he succeeds now in removing Martha Koome, the people of Meru will even be more wild. They will be more hostile. And I was saying, Mr. President, because you don't listen.
Okay.
I tried to advise you, you did not listen to me. Now you are struggling. You are begging Raila Odinga to save you, to hold your government together. You are going home unless Raila holds your hand. And even if he does, I don't think he'll help you. If you go ahead with this scheme with your Mr. Yesa and succeed in removing Martha Koome, if you dare come to Meru,
okay,
you will have a reception that is very cold, that is very indifferent, and it's not good. And why I was saying that, why do I say that, Rogers? The institution of the presidency is very important for this country, and is a symbol of national unity. And the president should be able to go everywhere in the country and get good reception. When people start refusing to listen to condolence messages from our president, it really demeans the institution of the presidency. I would one day want to be president. I would want that institution to be held in high esteem. So it is also my duty as a citizen. It is civic duty.
Okay.
Where I find the institution of the presidency will be demeaned by acts of the president,
okay,
to advise him to think twice of removing Justice Martha Koome. Again, I also want to advise him, please stop disbanding the Supreme Court. It is not good for the country.
All right.
It will create problems. People will have serious doubts about the 2027 general elections, because if you put a bench that you have crafted, we already start going to the elections with a lot of doubts. And once people don't believe a process will be fair, we start on bad footing, and that is not good for the country.
So let me ask you this, and perhaps just to quote the words of the current Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki, who you're referring to as Mr. Yesa, perhaps reflecting on the headlines on The Standard. He said this in response to your statements in Meru. He questioned who defends the judges who may be innocent but do not have ethnic godfathers, perhaps hinting that, you know, the judiciary is apolitical. Politicians shouldn't perhaps interfere with the runnings of this independent arm.
Mr. Yesa cannot have a different opinion. He is an employee of President William Ruto. President William Ruto wants to remove Martha Koome and the other 6 judges from the Supreme Court. So his work is to defend, but automatically.
But the question...
But I'm asking, he's trying to say that my defense of Martha Koome is ethnic. I want to ask Mr. Yesa, when I said that the Director General of the National Intelligence Service is incompetent, members of the Somali community came out with fury to defend him. I never heard Mr. Yesa say that that is ethnicity. When ODM members threatened to remove Speaker Moses Wetangula, members of the Luhya nation from Western Kenya came out in numbers to defend Moses Wetangula. I never heard Mr. Yesa say anything. But when the people of Mount Kenya see that there is a problem here and one of our own is being victimized, then he says it's his ethnicity. Yet himself is one of us. But
two wrongs don't make a right.
But I'm saying, that's what all communities do. The Somali community have defended their own. The Luhya people have defended their own. There is nothing wrong with Rigathi Gachagua defending his sister. And because our MPs and senators have been compromised by President William Ruto that they cannot speak for one of their own, Mr. Yesa cannot see anything different from what he has been told by this employer. Somebody must speak also for the mountain people.
Okay.
And I really have no apologies because I'm not the only one. When the Somalis defended their own, nobody raised an issue. When the Westerners defended their own, nobody raised an issue. And this is what is happening, Rogers, in this country. That the only people who cannot defend their own are the Mount Kenya people. It is called tribalism. But when other communities defend their own, or when they take a particular position, they are called tribalists. I saw the CS Interior saying that defending Martha Koome on my part is tribalism. Yet, 2 months before, when President William Ruto was had a lot of attack from all corners for mismanaging the country, that CS said that the president was being attacked because he's a Kalenjin. So I want to say, this profiling of the Mount Kenya people must come to an end. The Mount Kenya people, like any other community, have a right to defend their people. They have a right to articulate their issues. They have a right to say what is good for them and what is not good for them. And I want to ask the Mount Kenya people not to be apologetic about who they are. None of us made an application to God to be born where we were, where we were born. That is God's decision. And we must be allowed as a people to have our own identity and to articulate our issues like all other communities do.
So tell me this, and perhaps it's interrelated. What's the progress of your impeachment case in the corridors of justice? And equally, do you foresee an instance where you'll appeal all the way to the Supreme Court?
I don't know. My lawyers will deal with it. By the way, I'm reading this both about the impeachment and those matters in court.
Is there any progress on that case?
Yeah, we did file an appeal in the Court of Appeal. Because we were not satisfied with the bench, the three-judge bench that was constituted by the Deputy Chief Justice, because the Constitution says she doesn't have such powers. But the judges ruled that they should go ahead, and we did appeal to the Court of Appeal. Today the matter was in court, and the Court of Appeal listened to our arguments and gave an order staying the proceedings before the High Court until the matter is heard. The matter is determined. So our lawyers are dealing with that matter. That's our lawyers. I am myself on another assignment, a very important assignment of crafting a new political strategy and joining the other people of Kenya to work out a mechanism of how to get this country back on track, how to make sure that we bring in a new government that will observe the rule of law, a government that will not abduct and kill our children, a government that will not make corruption the official government policy, a government that will listen to the people and that will not just be doing things with impunity. That, to me, is my focus. Whether I am cleared of the impeachment tag or not, it's neither here nor there.
So what do you tell those people who smell a rat in your defense of Chief Justice Martha Koome, that perhaps you're foreseeing such a scenario where the Supreme Court, this very same judges, might be dispensing of your case?
I don't think Martha Koome sat in the High Court where I don't think I got justice. She didn't sit there. It's other judges who sat there. And I don't know whether the matter will ever get to the Supreme Court or not. But I've told you that matter to me is a very small matter. And it does not inform my thinking. And I am just concerned about this country, that it is irresponsible to allow the president to disband the Supreme Court is not good for the country. It will create a constitutional crisis. Again, it will make Kenyans lose faith in the entire electoral process. Because if the president succeeds and disbands the Supreme Court and installs his own judges in the Supreme Court, then this country is going down to the dogs.
All right.
The level of impunity will be in acceptable levels, and the president will have succeeded to capture the entire Kenyan state. He has captured the parliament as it is. He has captured the opposition. Now, if he captures the judiciary, we are done.
All right, let's shift focus to other matters, because just today, the broad-based partners, President William Ruto and Raila Odinga, had a presser, a conference, a meetup at State House in Mombasa, and we definitely saw the dalliance between these two leaders. In Kenya, we've seen this statement manifesting that there are no permanent friends or enemies in politics, only interests align. Are you open to working with Raila Odinga, the broad-based partner of President William Ruto?
I am open to working with anybody who means well for this country. And I want to take this opportunity to tell the supporters of Raila Odinga from Nyanza that they should not fight the mountain people, because we are not their enemies at all. We have a problem with President William Ruto. We have no problem with Raila Odinga and ODM. I saw after Raila Odinga lost the AUC elections, some people from Rift Valley, supporters of the president, and some supporters of Raila Odinga trying to blame the mountain people for the loss by the very simple fact some 6-7 women in Karatina Market had celebrated the loss. First and foremost, the Mount Kenya people did not have a vote at the AUC. In fact, our only participation in that election as people of Mount Kenya is that the man we made president had a vote. And if he did vote for Raila Odinga, as he says, then the people of Mount Kenya supported the candidature of Raila Odinga. We have no problem with Raila Odinga. I've had a lot of consultations with the people from the mountain. In fact, I have done almost 400 meetings in the last 4 months.
And we'll get to that.
And the people of that area have asked me to look for friends. And we are open to working with anybody who means well for this country. You know?
But we're talking about a man you decampaigned vigorously in the previous election. A man who mobilized his MPs to vote against you. That was the impeachment.
The voting against me by ODM people is neither here nor there. The person who orchestrated the impeachment is William Ruto. That's the person we have a problem with. He deceived the ODM people the way he deceived all us in the mountain. And for the record, we, for many years, had problems with Raila Odinga because he had been demonized as somebody who is against the mountain people. In 2020, President Uhuru Kenyatta convinced us that Raila Odinga is a good man. But President William Ruto, then Deputy President, convinced us that Raila is a bad man, he's a witch doctor, he is a lot of poverty, he means bad for this country, and William Ruto admittedly was more persuasive than Uhuru Kenyatta.
But you're on record saying this.
No, I'm just saying,
come on.
He persuaded us, and after he became president, he looked for Raila Odinga and he said he's a good man. So, Raila Odinga has been claimed by everybody. President Uhuru Kenyatta said he's a good man. William Ruto, who told us he's a witch doctor, who told us he's a lot of poverty, who told us he has no plan, who told us he is rudderless, who told us he's planless, today is singing praises for him as the best leader, not just for Kenya, but for Africa. So, we refused to vote for Raila Odinga, not because he was a very bad man, but William Ruto convinced us he's bad. Again, I must say that Raila Odinga was a victim of our community's distaste for betrayal. We felt that Uhuru Kenyatta had betrayed William Ruto. by looking for Raila Odinga. So because we hate betrayal, we decided to punish Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta at the same time. But still 1.1 million people from our region voted for Raila Odinga. But now that William Ruto has betrayed us, knowing very well that he is a beneficiary of our community's district for betrayal, we are through with him. So Raila Odinga is there.
Okay.
He has not betrayed us. He has not done anything so grave, you know, that in our view makes it impossible for us to work together. But I have heard him say that he's going to consult very widely and, and he'll say the way forward. If he wants to be president, he can talk to us. We don't have a problem. And I also want to tell Raila Odinga and his supporters, I know I am not qualified to advise him, but from my working with President William Ruto, myself and my community, let them be very careful. I have heard them promise him to be prime minister. That is a lie, it's conmanship. There is no such position available in this country because it's not there in the constitution. For you to create the position of prime minister, it means you have to change the structure of government. You would have to go for a referendum.
Yes.
Today, if there is a referendum, it will be a referendum against the leadership of President William Ruto. And you will lose in the morning. So that position of prime minister is not available.
So who's playing who?
No, William Ruto is playing Raila Odinga. Let me tell you. There is no such position. So it's just a con. Number two, I think to be fair to Raila Odinga, I think he has risen above that position of prime minister. The man has wanted to be president 5 times. He now wanted to be the chairman of the African Union Commission. I think taking him back to the position of prime minister is a bit demeaning. In my view, the former prime minister has 2 options, in my view. I cannot advise him. I cannot pretend I have the capacity to advise him. He either retires in dignity or he goes for the presidency. Because there's no way you can ask for the presidency for 5 times and then you demean yourself, you want to become a prime minister. No. I think that will be very, it will be very, very demeaning. But again, finally,
yes.
I want to ask my brother, President William Ruto. Now that you say this man is a witch doctor, he's the lord of poverty, he is the real problem of this country, you have changed your mind, you are saying he's the best for Africa, he means well for this country, why don't you, if you are genuine, consider to do 1 term and endorse him to be president in the next election, if you really genuine that this man is so good, this man can sort out this country. If really that is from the bottom of your hand, of your heart, since you have done 5 years, you are going to do 5 years and you have not done very well, why don't you consider to allow this man to be president? So what I would like to say is that in my discussions with the people, we have, by the way, I must tell you in those discussions, if you want me to tell you.
And we'll get to that.
We'll get there.
Yes.
But I'm saying we are not opposed to working with Raila Odinga.
You're willing to
already we are working with Kalonzo Musyoka. We are working with Eugene Wamalwa. We are working with Fred Matiang'i. We are working with Eugene Wamalwa. We are working with all like-minded Kenyans. If Raila Odinga does not make a decision to destroy his legacy and support President William Ruto and decides to join the rest of Kenyans in trying to liberate our country and get it back in the right footing and calls upon us for a discussion on the possibility of working together in whatever formation.
You're open to that? We
are open to that discussion. We are not selfish people. By the way, myself and my community are on record having supported somebody else. William Ruto, he's not one of us. Today he's calling us tribalists, despite the fact that we supported him, knowing very well he's not one of us. And because we are not tribal, we supported him, and he became president. We also are amiable and ready, if need be, to support another person, maybe it Raila Odinga, maybe it Kalonzo, maybe Wamalwa. We can support anybody, and whoever we decide to support, and take it from me, today, and you'll ask me 2 years from now, whoever we decide to support, we have two options. We can have our own candidate from the mountain, and we are good. If we decide for whatever reason that it's better to support somebody else, whoever we decide to support, that will be the next president of the Republic of Kenya.
Okay, time will tell. You said you're open to working with like-minded individuals.
Yes.
Here. Have you had a meeting with former President Uhuru Kenyatta? Did you bury the hatchet? Because there's some who still point fingers at you, blaming you for the push and pull after the current Kenya Kwanza administration came to office, that perhaps the raid at his farm might have been orchestrated by Rigathi Gachagua. Have you had a meeting with the former head of state ever since you were impeached?
You know, Uhuru Kenyatta is my elder brother. I was his PA, and he's our leader as a community.
Okay.
It is inappropriate for me to discuss him in public because I'm a junior elder in the community, he's a senior elder, and discussions of elders in our community is a preserve of that community.
We're just asking if you met him. Come on. You're a truthful man.
What I'm saying
Yeah.
is that Uhuru Kenyatta is our brother, our son, and our leader. And he's retired, and we respect his status and his retirement. But when we need advice from him as a community, it's always available.
So let me rephrase the question. What do you tell those who see former President Uhuru Kenyatta's hand in the appointment of Uhuru's men, as they're commonly referred to? Some of the CSs we saw recently appointed, Mutahi Kagwe, Liki Nyanjui.
There's no problem whether Uhuru had a hand or no hand. It, to me, is irrelevant. And he's a Kenyan. If he proposes some people to be appointed and they are appointed, so be it. What is important for us, especially for the mountain, is that those appointments amounted to nothing, because they were meant to pacify the region that is very unhappy with the President William Ruto for deceiving them, for mismanaging the economy, and for destroying leaders in the region. And immediately they were appointed, there was a saying among our people, that even if you revive Mwai Kibaki, Jomo Kenyatta, and Dedan Kimathi, nothing would change. So we are really not bothered. Let them go and work. They have been given a job to do. Let them go and do the job that were given to do. We wish them well. If they can make a change and people of Kenya are better off than they were before they were appointed, we appreciate. They are our sons. Right. And we don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why the delay in forming your political party? Because going by your own timelines, we were supposed to have that launch early this year. It was pushed, and now we expect that launch in May. Are you having challenges in registering?
No challenges at all.
Yeah.
I had, when I left office, the people of my region felt that we needed to consult on the way forward, because as a community we felt very bad. The community felt totally misused by President William Ruto. They felt deceived, and we needed to consult extensively. And as their leader, they asked me to do that consultation. And I did a lot of consultation, the whole of November, the whole of December. I had hoped that I would have completed the consultations, but I hadn't by the end of December. Very many people still wanted to come and see me. You have seen even in the whole of January and February, they have been coming. Again, when we started the consultations, I had thought it would be a Mount Kenya affair, but I had not appreciated the interest my leadership had created in the country. And many other Kenyans from all other regions also wanted to consult with me, and therefore we had to extend our negotiations. But be as it may, our political party is ready, and for strategic reasons, I did not want to unveil it before. I must tell you one of the reasons. Because quite a number of our senators and members of parliament want to resign from UDA